When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen, I'm with Kotobuki Jake,
Hey.
and we're here to show you what we got.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh, boy.
Not for you.
Either way, we've had some fun pickups this week, but a couple bits of news. I'm wearing my one of my Rebel Gaming Club shirts. Was de-shirted at Ultraviolent Brony GameCon. It has even like a broken controller on it. And also the other people who have that is the Rebel Gaming Club, who we were in the contest to see who would get into the Rebel Gaming Club. And the answer was everybody gets in who applied. So, you may be seeing some stuff. We actually got a message saying that there may be an assignment for us in the future. Oh. So, we might be doing something to pop up on the channel in the future. So,
cool. Stay
tuned on that. But, with that being said, let's jump into those beautiful pickups.
Yep.
This first one is a really cool one, and that is The Magic of Mie. It's actually quite funny that they show this moonshot one because it's not on here.
Yeah. It's the one everyone knows by him.
So everyone knows, so therefore it's not
Partly
on the
because
disc.
of Hugo.
It's a Kino release. This guy, again, Hugo was the one that displayed it, but he pioneered a lot of techniques. He was a magician originally. And he looked at this and he fell in love with cinema. He believed he could just use that for the ultimate of magic shows. Pioneering techniques, pioneering editing techniques, coloration techniques. There are some in-color stuff, and we're talking films as far back as the early 1900s. We have a film here that was filmed in 1904. All these are short films, and a lot of these are very fun. Like The Impossible Voyage, a fun film, in color in parts. So again, well worth a check. I mean, I got this for like, I think $15. We covered it, I believe, on an Inside Movies Galore thing, on a side thing, and it was well worth covering. We also have been working on these Edison films. I'm hoping that we get into those in the future. You'll get to see them, hopefully, as time goes on.
Good deal. And here I thought I was moving into the past for my first pick.
Hard to move farther back than that.
I know, exactly. But this still is some old school cinema. I have my theme this week is library pickups. It's actually going to be my theme for the foreseeable future with occasional exceptions. But this one, if I remember correctly, was part of I think actually most of these were part of a very large pickup or a couple of pickups that I did. And one of them is, this one here is a film called The Barclays of Broadway. It's a Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers film from 1949. So, you know, kind of old. Like I said, not quite 1904, but you know. I really know nothing about this particular film, but I've seen a couple of Astaire and Rogers films, and I know I need to see more of them. And this is a pretty well liked one, from what I understand. Don't recall if it had an Oscar history or not. But it's got also Oscar Levant, Billy Burke, Gail Robbins, you know, some I guess, moderately big names for the time. Apparently, there's an old Droopy cartoon on here as a bonus feature. That's kind of cool. And then there's 2 short films on here. That's really cool. I'm going to have to watch the special features.
Making it old school there.
Yeah, very good. So, yeah, good times.
Apparently, I had this theme. Really, is the rest of those. I have them. I have my films like all into watched and unwatched, and I have like a backlog because we're doing them in sets of 5 or 7 or so on, as you've had a backlog.
Yeah.
And so I said I'm just going to get the ones that I've watched done first. And I thought I only have 4, but then I realized, oh, there's one bent over there in the corner. So I have 5 of those. So I put up the new one, and now it's going to be a full theme of the last of the watched. I say that, but I've been watching more lately than I used to, so I might have more of those coming up. But the next one I have is a cute little film with Dan Stevens, Christopher Plummer, and Jonathan Pierce, called The Man Who Invented Christmas. And I will admit, Christopher Plummer is excellent in this.
Oh, he's great.
As Scrooge. Yeah. It goes through kind of the Charles Dickens's...
no, you had it right. You
formula.
said Price.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
His inspiration for it. It's a little bit embellished, but it's a very fun film. And I love the interactions he has with his characters, especially Plummer's character. It is hilarious. It's a great film around the holidays to watch. I've really enjoyed it.
I think I'm going to have to try and get a hold of that one eventually.
I got it fairly cheap, but I can't remember what I got it for. I think it was one of the Black Friday deals.
That's my guess. I'll keep looking for it this Black Friday. But yeah, basically the gist of it is he's a very... in the film, he interacts with a lot of his characters as he writes, and kind of that's part of his process, I guess you could say, helping to get into the characters' heads and everything. And yeah, Plummer, they need to give him a role as Scrooge. It's great. But anyway, my next one continues the Astaire and Rogers theme with what may possibly be their most famous film, Top Hat. Of course, this one with music by Irving Berlin. And then you had some other, I don't really recognize those other actors, I have to admit. Helen Broderick, Eric Rhodes, some others. But this was actually a nominee for Best Picture, so it's on that list of Best Picture films I need to get knocked out. You know, I'm still working on it. Dang it! But this one is, and this was 35, so this is an even older one. So yeah, like I said, this one's definitely. I think this was their heyday, wasn't it? Like when they were really at the top. And this one also has a couple of short films. Very cool. I like how they do that. And, yeah. So that's... And again, I mean, I'm pretty sure those will go... Oh, dang it. It's still alive. Okay.
One less DVD.
I'm pretty sure those were both dollar pickups. So, given all the special features, that's pretty awesome.
You know, Fred Astaire's one you will not see a biopic of, because he's made it pretty clear he wanted no films about him, no books about him, no biographies, done. So what you get is what you get for Astaire, until people die off.
Yeah, I was going to say, until whoever's running his estate just doesn't care anymore.
You know it's going to happen eventually. So, going back to the Inside Movies Galore theme, another film we covered a while back was Mother.
That was the one that brought me in on the show.
What a one to start with.
What a one to start with, yes.
That's an Aronofsky film, probably considered one of the weaker films that Aronofsky did.
Certainly one of the more divisive ones he did.
It's one of those that you either loved it or hated it seemed like. Either loving it for the symbolism or hating it, well, just hating it.
Or if you're like me, you loved it and hated it.
I was one of the few people who probably was like, it's alright. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, enjoy is probably not quite the word. But,
Parts of it I enjoyed.
It is a ride. She's essentially Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to give any more away than that. But it's a good way, to me, if you really want to try and understand the symbolism, watching it with that in mind helps a lot. Mm-hmm. Watching it without that in mind leaves you confused and kind of upset. But then again, most films by Aronofsky leave you confused and upset.
Yes.
So, what can you do?
Right.
But not a bad film overall. I bought it for the Inside Movies Galore coverage. And now I have.
I will have to get that, but I dread watching it again. Just like I have Black Swan sitting on my shelf, and God knows when I'll get to it. But at any rate, my next one is one that I've been meaning to watch for some time. It's a film that, unfortunately, like most films with this actor, kind of his untimely passing kind of puts a spin of sorts on anything you watch by him. And this supposedly is a very, 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 very dark comedy, from what I understand. It's a Robin Williams film called Man of the Year, and where basically he plays, a comedian who decides to run for president. So it's, from what I understand, probably has a little bit of a Bob Roberts / Bulworth vibe to it. And Williams, of course, was a brilliant actor. He was a phenomenal actor.
Oh, yeah.
He did not get his due. And he's got a great supporting system here. Barry Levinson's a director who also directed Wag the Dog, one of the best political satires ever. And it's also got Christopher Walken, Laura Linney, Jeff Goldblum, Louis Black. I mean, how's that for a cast? I never did get to see this, but I always wanted to. And now I have a reason to not put it off. Well,
Much.
But definitely looking forward to that one.
So from the hits of yesterday to recent hits and Oscar nominees, we have Wreck-It Ralph in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
I still need to watch my copy.
I think I got this from Disney Movie Club because I can get them fairly cheap. And Disney doesn't go down on prices for their mainstream films because they're assholes.
Because the mouse.
But it was fun. It definitely attacks the internet a lot better than what I've heard the Emoji Movie does. Essentially, this is what the Emoji Movie wanted to be from what I've heard. They did pretty well. Still pretty good performance from the main actors. I mean, Sarah Silverman does an excellent job. And I love the scene with her and the Disney princesses that leaked out early. It really was fun. Essentially, Ralph is happy with his life with Vanellope, but her game gets broken. But the only way to get the game repaired is they have to go to the internet to get this rare part, or otherwise her game gets kicked. But then she finds that she really starts to discover herself more in the idea that she wants to be in one of these like Grand Theft Auto type games instead. And Ralph isn't liking it because he's worried about losing his friend. So you get a lot of themes about friendships, about people needing each other. I really liked how they did this with the sequel. This is something that I feel like they did better than Pixar has done with their sequels. Because Pixar would have taken this, rehashed the same plot in a slightly different way, and then hit gold with it. I'll admit, they would have done a good job with it. This actually did not use the same plot. It went in a different direction. So I gotta give them props for that. So, good on you, Disney. It was a good one. It deserved a nomination. Was it as good as the original? I'm still not not 100% on that, but still, I like it. I like trying to go for originality, especially from the mouse who does not like originality. not these days, anyway.
Good times. My next one is another one that has been on my to-watch list for some time. In fact, it's really been on my to-watch list, and I don't know what my excuse is. Partly, it's one of those ones that's always so cheap that it took me forever to get it because it was so cheap. But this is a film, I believe it's directed by Mira Nair. Yes, it is. Mira Nair, a film called The Namesake.
Ah.
I believe it's, is it Jhumpa Lahiri who wrote the book that it's based on? Yeah. It's a very popular book by Jhumpa Lahiri.
Film.
And you've got Kal Penn and Irfan Khan and Tabu, Jacinda Barrett, and they're, let's see, if I remember correctly, Mira Nair is the one that did Monsoon Wedding and Bride and Prejudice, right? And Bend It Like Beckham. Am I getting all that? No, I'm getting mixed up here. I think she is the one that did Monsoon Wedding and Bride and Prejudice. And then, of course, Irfan Khan is a Bollywood superstar who is way past getting his due for his Hollywood work. But just generally, I've heard good things about it. I've always been surprised at how quickly it ended up in the throwaway bin. I mean, I've just been shocked by that. And it's always been on my to-watch list, so now I have it, and hopefully I'll get to it. Hopefully very soon.
Well, my last one is another one that's usually pretty cheap, and I got it cheap at the time. I think I got it for $1 myself. And it's just a fun little film, and a little bit horrific for a kid's film. It just shows you that films done in the early 2000s and late 90s for kids are very different from today's kids' films. And now we're talking about Toy Soldiers. I don't know, have you seen this one?
Small Soldiers.
Or Small Soldiers, yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
Small Soldiers is a film where you've got these special toys. They're trying to come up with these action figures. So this guy ends up hacking into the military database and gets these like supercomputer chips from the military and putting it into these particular figures. So they kind of go all out in their destruction. Whereas you've got these guys who are supposed to be the good guys fighting these monster guys. But the monster guys, all they really want to do is learn and explore and then find their way home. Whereas these guys are pretty much just, we're going to blow everything up. You know, as they do. And it was actually very creepy. Especially there's a part where they end up getting into the girl's room for the guy, you know, main kid in here. And they break into the girl's house, and they take her Barbies and they make them into these really grotesque Frankensteinish monsters that they power with one of the chips of their fallen allies. And it really is creepy and disturbing. This whole thing is as much creepier than I would say. I wouldn't show it to a very small child. Maybe a larger child.
Okay. Interesting. So, my last one, speaking of a little bit creepy and disturbing, I goofed. I'm very annoyed with myself. I goofed. Last week, I had a specific plan in mind for when I got a hold of Glass, and I forgot about it. And that plan was to watch the copy, which I've already presented, of Split, and to watch this, Unbreakable, and then watch Glass. And I forgot to.
Don't.
So now I still have Split and Unbreakable sitting there unwatched. But I have this very nice edition of Unbreakable. you know, this is kind of the basic edition. It's not the basic, but it's kind of an edition that's been around for a while.
That's the one.
It is the one you have, yeah. It's not like it's like super fancy, but there's still a pretty good bit of stuff on here. And it looks nice. And I will say this, Glass did not disappoint me near as much as I expected it to. In fact, it was not quite as tedious as this one. This
that
one's
one's
better.
slow.
This one's better, but it's
a slow burn.
slow.
But it's
It's
good.
more like a slow smolder.
It's a good film, but it is very slow.
But so I'm not really chomping at the bit to. That's probably why I forgot.
Maybe we can
But
figure out something like
one
in
day.
the future. Because it's looking like we might be doing slashers for July, but
Right.
But you know, maybe there'll be a
Actually,
superhero like summer thing later.
One of these might be good for the movies. Yeah,
Actually, that might be an idea, like for an August theme, like a superhero summer or something.
exactly. But yeah, this is definitely a creative film. Mm-hmm. It was pretty darned original, and even now with all this kind of revisionist superhero movies that have come out in the wake of this one or since then, Glass still felt different, which is good. You know, it's a good thing. But definitely give that one a look one of these days. Just be prepared to watch a... Oh, it's actually less than 2 hours?
An artistic
It felt
film.
longer.
It does. It's
Less than 2 hours, but it feels like 3.
well
But
written, but
it's good.
Very
Okay.
Well, that's it for us this time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know if there's anything you've picked up this week that you're particularly proud of. Hit that like button. Of course, subscribe, share. We've had a couple of new arrivals to our site, so we've been moving. We're in the 120s now, subscriber-wise. Yeah,
Nice.
we are slowly moving up there. One day we are going to get to 1,000, and then we're going to be able to make like a penny a video, which is going to be awesome. We'll take it big time. Then I can start writing these purchases off on my taxes.
Yeah.
That's the goal at the end of the day.
Be able to write that purchase off, yeah.
So we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.